Okay, so the big score of the week is this here. Now, it might not look like much. That's part 1 there. Part 2 and 3 are back here. It is all at the moment just leaning up in the craft room because we've only just purchased it. Then if we go around the corner, you'll see that there's some boards along the back there, as well as a bucket full of all sorts of goodies. Now, some of you might already have an idea on what this purchase was. For those who do not, it is, in fact, a quilting frame. We found this on Facebook for $100 and thought there is no way we can leave it. We got there to find out that it is actually bigger than we thought it was. It will take up to a 3-meter quilt, which is pretty exciting, but we're thinking at first we might just put half of it together and do a small quilt just to try it out and see where it goes, because if you've seen our craft room, we actually don't have a space at this point to put up a 3-meter quilt frame. So it is going to be a weekend of rearranging the craft room again to get some of this framing up so that we can use it. All we really know about it is the naming here has Grace Company, and then on the other side it says Path. So we believe it is that it is a coalition between these two companies. We will have to put our own sewing machine on it. So yeah, so in the box there is the bed for putting the sewing machine on. Our new sewing machine does have an 11-inch throat, so I think that will work quite nicely on there. So we believe that a 16-inch throat is too big for fitting on this frame. A 14 would probably work. But we will set it up and show you us giving it its first trial on the baby quilt that I made a couple of months back. So when we went to pick up the quilting frame, it had already been packed down as the lady who was selling it was moving house. She did not have an instruction book, and after spending some time on the internet, we still could not find any information on how to put this quilting frame together. So all we had to run on was a couple of bad photos that she had put up when she was selling it. But my dad figured it wouldn't be too difficult to work out, so he started off by putting the legs onto the main part of the frame and figured he'd work from there. He did get some great assistance from my little Frenchie, and anybody else who has a very inquisitive dog will know that this normally means that something goes missing during the process. So I am keeping a pretty close eye on him. So at this point, my dad has just grabbed our smallest sewing machine. Not that this machine will be any good to quilt with on this frame, but just to give him an idea on how to put the handles up and around the machine and the way that it sort of goes together. We went with putting the smallest one on because it just made it easier to work around and it's nice and light, and we knew if we had done anything wrong. This is our older machine, not our brand new one, so we weren't risking putting something that's heavy and expensive on just in case, we miss something or we knock something as we're finishing the process of putting this frame together. The other things that we're starting to think about now that we're seeing it go together is how much space this is going to need. Obviously, we've only made it half size at this point, but trying to work out, can we put it in a corner? Do we need to have access around the whole machine or just to one side? Are we going to quilt from the front or the back? These are sort of things that me and my mum were discussing while my dad was working on the rods for the quilting frame. This quilting frame has 4 rods. Not all frames come with 4 rods, nor are we necessarily going to use all 4 of the rods. It's just going to take some playing and some watching of videos for us to figure out how we want to load the quilting frame and which methods we are going to use and works for us. It did take my dad a bit of time to work through the process of getting each of these rods set up, as when we brought it, it was set up to be the 3-meter frame and we're making the half size. So at this point, I'm just going to jump to him having all the rods set at the right length and on the quilting frame. So the last bit that he needed to do was attach the little bungee cables, and then that was the quilting frame all set up. As we're not planning on it living in the front room, the next thing is to measure it all up and go out to the craft room and find it permanent home.